Gluten. It's in your bread, it's in your pasta, it's even in your beer. It's in a lot of foods, but more and more people are trying to avoid gluten like the plague. Why? Is gluten really that bad for you? Should you go gluten-free? Spoiler alert, for many of you, the answer is no. Stay tuned to find out my thoughts on it as a registered nutritionist. Going gluten-free may be the biggest health trend for the past decade. You can't go into a grocery store without seeing aisles of food labeled gluten-free, or scroll through social media without reading about a celebrity's gluten-free lifestyle. It seems more and more people are going gluten-free.
What is gluten? What is this thing you will not eat?
Do you maintain a gluten-free diet?
I do indeed.
But what is gluten?
Oh, this is pretty sad because I don't know.
Do you maintain a gluten-free diet?
Yeah, I try to the best of my ability, yeah.
What is gluten?
It's the wheat in products such as like bread or pastas, rice.
Why do you avoid it?
It makes you fat.
Yikes. It seems people go gluten-free without actually knowing what gluten is. So, are they making a mistake? Are you confused what the heck gluten is like the characters in this scene from the movie? This is the end.
You have no idea what
I do know what gluten is. Gluten's a vague term. It's something that's used to categorize things that are bad. You know, calories, that's a gluten. Fat, that's a gluten.
Somebody just told you probably shouldn't eat gluten. You're like, oh, I guess I shouldn't eat gluten.
Don't worry, I'll explain all in this video, so keep watching until the end. Let's start by looking at what gluten is. Gluten is a type of protein found in foods processed from specific types of grain. It's kind of gummy, doughy, and provides the rising property to things like pizza dough when it interacts with yeast, and it's used as a thickener and filler in a lot of products as well. When you think of gluten, think of glue. So which grains have gluten? Gluten is found in products made from wheat, barley, and rye. Of the gluten-containing grains, wheat is by far the most common. So, if it's just a protein, why is it so bad? Why are we trying to avoid it? Why are supermarket shelves filling up with gluten-free alternatives? Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to join my community, and let's get to the truth about nutrition together. Gluten can be bad for some people. Some people are gluten intolerant, and when they consume gluten-based foods, it can cause all sorts of issues inside their body. For people who are intolerant to gluten, gluten can mess up their gastrointestinal tract, either inflaming it or actually damaging it. Some people, roughly about 1% of the population, have a medical issue with gluten. This is called celiac disease. Celiac disease is a genetic autoimmune digestive disease that damages the villi of the small intestine and interferes with the absorption of nutrients from food. Ultimately, your body turns on itself when dealing with gluten, and your white blood cells attack and destroy the lining of your small intestine, leading to the lack of absorption of nutrients from your food. This is definitely not cool. So, if you have celiac disease, avoiding gluten-containing products is a must. So, what foods have gluten in them? Gluten is present in wheat, which means gluten is present in flour. It's the gluten that allows flour to be turned into things like bread, pasta, bagels, donuts, and pizza dough. You might be thinking that you just need to cut these out of your diet to avoid gluten. I'm afraid not. Gluten is used in practically every processed food, believe it or not. It's present in beer, sad I know, soy sauce, and even used as a stabilizing agent in ice cream and ketchup. Even gluten-free foods like oats are often processed in a factory where they are cross-contaminated with grains that contain gluten and so no longer are gluten-free. Heck, even Play-Doh and lipstick may contain gluten. So it can be hard to avoid gluten. This is where the gluten-free food products come in handy. So what makes a product gluten-free? A food can be labelled gluten-free if it has less than 20 parts per million of gluten in it. There will be some gluten in the product, but a super tiny amount. It's like a drop of water in your car's gas tank, basically not much. Okay, so what if you don't have a gluten intolerance or don't have celiac disease? Should you go gluten-free? In short, no. You don't need to cut out gluten-containing foods if you do not have any ill effects when you consume them. In fact, going gluten-free and choosing gluten-free products could be a mistake. Just as there's a wrong way of going paleo, like eating 7,000 calories of bacon per day, and a wrong way to go vegetarian, like eating donuts and cookies all day, there's a wrong way to go gluten-free as well. A lot of these gluten-free products strip out the few healthy components of their regular versions. On top of that, a gluten-free version of a certain type of food is oftentimes more expensive. If you go gluten-free by simply just switching your diet to gluten-free bread, gluten-free pizza, gluten-free pasta, gluten-free bagels, gluten-free cookies, you get the idea. You have made no real dietary changes and you are setting yourself up for nutritional deficiencies, weight gain and other issues. When you avoid foods that contain gluten such as whole grains like whole grain wheat bread and whole grain pasta, you may be missing out on some of the important nutrients. In addition, many products that contain gluten such as breakfast cereals are also fortified with vitamins and minerals. So avoiding foods that contain gluten without adding other nutrient sources to the diet can lead to nutrient deficiencies such as iron, calcium, fiber, folate, thiamine, riboflavin and niacin. It can also be hard to get enough fiber when going gluten-free. Many products that contain gluten are high in fiber, so when following a gluten-free diet, it's important to get dietary fiber from other sources such as beans, lentils, nuts, seeds, and gluten-free whole grains. A 2017 review concluded that avoiding gluten could lead to a reduced intake of heart-healthy whole grains, which may affect a person's risk of cardiovascular disease. Despite popular trends, there is little evidence that a gluten-free diet has health benefits for people who do not have gluten intolerance and celiac disease. But doesn't gluten make you fat, I hear you ask? In short, no. Going gluten-free isn't a guaranteed get slim strategy. It doesn't mean low carb and it doesn't necessarily mean better. Sure, if you don't eat all the high-calorie gluten-containing foods such as beer, pizza and pastries and choose vegetables, fruits and lean meats instead, you may lose some pounds. It's likely though that your decreased calorie intake plays a role in the scales change and not the elimination of gluten. Switching gluten-containing foods with gluten-free versions of high-calorie junk foods may actually lead to weight gain because some contain even more calories than the original non-gluten-free version. For example, let's compare a gluten-free white roll with a non-gluten-free roll. Per 100 grams, the gluten-free version has more calories and fat, with 272 calories and 7.1 grams of fat, compared to the non-gluten-free version, which contains 265 calories and only 3.9 grams of fat per 100 grams. Let's sum up with an all things nutrition review. Most people can eat gluten without any negative effects, so going gluten-free might be a mistake. However, those with celiac disease and gluten sensitivity need to avoid it as it can cause harmful effects. Cutting out foods can lead to nutrient deficiencies, so it's key to be monitored by a healthcare professional. If you suspect an intolerance to gluten, make sure you consult your doctor, who can help you determine if you have celiac disease or a non-celiac gluten sensitivity. Do you follow a gluten-free diet? Comment below. If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do, hit that like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to watch more videos just like this. Remember, enjoy food and stay happy and healthy. Catch you next time.